Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Rookie and the Closer, where I am apparently the closer and my incredible colleague David is the rookie. And today we're going to flip it, and I am going to be interviewing David about his storied sales career and a little bit of his life, and I will make him overshare. But David, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Maddie, thank you so much for having me on our podcast today. I'm super excited to be here.
Fired up. And then when we first started, we did not anticipate so many people wanting to come on. We thought it was going to be just you and me talking into the void every
Every
single week.
week.
But we've been very lucky to have
Yeah,
such great people on, and I'm excited to have you talk more for once this week.
me too. I'm definitely nervous because those of you that know me know I'm not really an extrovert at all, and I'm more just good at asking questions and listening. So definitely be uncomfortable today, but it'll be good for all of us.
Yeah, we're comfort zones are for suckers.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're not for sales. They're for other
no.
careers.
Yes, yes. Well, or not.
This
Like
is true. Yeah.
let's have a growth mindset here. So I know, David, we talked on the first ever podcast just about how you got into sales, but let's rehash for any of those of you who are just joining us, just tuning in. So talk to me about, like, you graduate high school, what happens then?
Yeah, so I graduate high school. Well, this is going really far back because I didn't start
Lots to.
sales until like 10 years later. But yeah, I originally wanted to be a military musician, and I studied music in college. That's how I met my wife. And then fast forward a few years, I kind of went through some turmoil. I passed like all my auditions. I was going to take a year of absence to go through Army Music School and boot camp and all that stuff, and then that's when I started having like physical problems. Um, just to kind of fast forward through all that, like
Well, but
my basically
pause for a
my
second. What
yeah
the fuck is a military musician?
yeah. So you're basically there to like entertain the troops and boost troop morale, and then also do like patriotic stuff like parades, like a Labor Day parade, etc., like stuff like that. So yeah, not the most popular career path, but I was fired up for it.
What? Like, oh
Yeah,
my God. Like, I now
yeah,
that I know that's like what I want my daughter to do now. That's like, what a cool job.
yeah.
Oh, wow. And then yeah, so I know you're, physical kind of like autoimmune, right, stuff. So it's like I
Mhm.
think a lot of type A kind of like hardworking people suffer from some stuff like that. So, um, what kind of track did you get back on after that?
Yeah, so basically, like, I had to, get out of the military, like, because it was the Army Reserve, so I was able to serve a little bit before I went to boot camp. So I did get a taste, which fortunately and unfortunately, like, I like it. It was honestly like heartbreaking because I loved it. Like the few weekends that I did it, like it was awesome. The people were awesome, like everyone was awesome. So that sucked, but eventually I had to basically get like a doctor to write a note because you're not once you sign that contract, you're
Can't
not
go
allowed to
AWOL.
just yeah, you can't, or else you're gonna be in prison, right? So had to get a doctor to write a note and basically just like delay it almost. But then when I because I didn't realize it was like any kind of autoimmune thing. I thought it was my hands were swelling up when I play because I'm playing like 5 hours a day type thing. So, but then basically like a year later, it happened like all over my body. So that's when I was like, all right, like this isn't gonna this is a serious problem, right? So I had been even when I was in college, I had been helping out my dad with personal training, and obviously we know that's sales adjacent, and I was good at that. So I basically just like pivoted to that full time, and I did that up in winter of 2024, and then ironically, my dad ended up not retiring, but he was supposed to sell his buildings and retire, and then it ended up not happening. But when he did that, I started looking for other things, and I was interviewing at other sales jobs. It was basically twofold. One of my friends that I grew up with was like killing it in med device sales, I was like,
Mm.
oh, like if he could do it, like why can't I do that? Like maybe I should look into sales because he wasn't like a super extroverted person or anything like that. And then also Brandon started working at Foley that April, and he was like, "Oh, bro, like you should like try this." And I was like, "You make 100 calls a day? Like fuck that! I'm not doing that. Like that sounds like my worst nightmare." So eventually, I would say like fast forward to like July, I shadowed Brandon because he was home. It was literally like the July 4th week, and I shadowed him for a day, and I was like, "Oh, he's actually only talking to like 10 people a day. I feel like I could suck it up and do that." So like, and I need a job and a career, so and it's remote, so like I could kind of like, you know, accommodate myself, like have certain things with like a flexible desk, and I have like I have like a left and a right hand mouse to kind of like take the pressure off, like you know, certain sides and stuff like that. I could do whatever I can to accommodate myself, and yeah, and then I tried it, and the rest is pretty much history,
Yeah, well, we're gonna get super
which
deep
we'll get
into
into. Yeah.
all of that because the headline, we'll see what AI comes up with for the title of this podcast. But you are now in your 11th or 12th month of not just hitting but smashing quota.
Yeah, so this will be my 11th month straight of smashing quota and 10th month of number one performer.
Number one performer at two different companies, so very
Yes.
much not a fucking fluke. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Even though it
this
still
is
kind of feels like it every month, but yeah.
it'll feel like that for 15 years.
Yeah.
I got in a fight with
Forever.
my husband on Friday because I am the number one rep at the company and I'm about to hit my annual goal in August. And so I took off a little early on Friday. And yeah, well, wait, got a message that was like, hey guys, like nothing, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. Like, there's no substitute for hard work. Like, it's only lunchtime in Hawaii. Like, and my husband's like, obviously that was not written for you. And I was like, it was written, it might as well be a DM. We gotta go. Like, I can't be at lunch right now. Like, I gotta go home. And I came back to my desk and made like 25 dials because I was so self-conscious and like, so I wish I could tell you that it goes away, but it doesn't really go away, which I think helps us be successful. But
Yeah.
what I heard there that I love is like two things. I think a lot of the themes that come out when we wind up talking to people on this podcast is that your network is stronger and more helpful than you might think. So like you probably know someone that works somewhere that you could work, or they know someone or a old boss or whatever. So it's like don't think about it as being creepy or selfish. It was like how did you even say to Brandon like I'm not sure, but let me see, because it almost felt like he was like offering you an in and you like didn't say yes right away, but you didn't say no. Like how did you navigate that like psychologically to be like I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, but I'm also not sure. Like what did that feel like for you?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I mean, I want to say he started at Foley in March of last year, and I pretty much told him no. Like I didn't like say no, like flat out no, but I was like, I don't know. I basically was like, like I guess if I get desperate enough, we'll revisit it, and that's exactly what happened. So
Okay.
it wasn't something I ever like. I still say to my wife, like not every day at this point, but like once in a while, I'll still say to my wife, like, can you believe I cold call for a living? Like something I never thought I'd ever do in my entire life. And then on top of that, like hitting quota and actually doing well is like even crazier to me, just because I was the last person to ever pick up the phone.
Have you always been successful? Did you get good grades? I know you were a top athlete. Like, do you consider yourself a winner?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, I'm also realistic, and I don't like. I don't want to say like I always win, but I always have like that hard work mindset, and like if I set my mind to doing something, it's like really hard to take me away from that, and like for me not to persevere. Like I did, like for example, like maybe like the first couple of years of high school, I didn't really get good grades, and then 11th and 12th grade, I really actually cared, set my mind to it, and I still graduated with over a 90 average, even though I like did shit the first 2 years. So like it's definitely like once I set my mind to doing something, I do. I would say my hard work and persistence is like if that's what you consider the winner mindset, that's like where it would come from. I would say.
I like that because I think I've talked about this before. One of my favorite questions in an interview is you ask someone like, "Are you lucky? Do you consider yourself lucky?" And it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I think it's like, "Hey, are you a winner?" And you're like, it sounds like you may have the perfect answer because for me, I would just be like, "Yeah," because I know that's what they want to hear. But you're like, I am someone who has consistently won. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah,
maybe you're not
that's a better response. Yeah.
identifying it. But I think we've talked about this on the podcast too. Like at a certain point, you have to just look at history and be like, good things happen to me. People do better when I'm around. I'm generally successful. And it's like I think that's kind of what you're coming to realize now is like you're gonna go into next month and I know you're gonna hit quota again. And you're gonna be like, I've never not hit quota. Like you're gonna be able to say that. I've never not hit quota. Like that's fucking crazy to be able to say.
Yeah, and I'll say it for as long as I can because I'm sure once I become an AE, it won't be that simple. You can't just
Well,
bully someone into a meeting.
but then you get vanity metrics where you say like, well, I've never not missed my
Win rate.
quarter, or I always hit my
Yeah,
annual. You know what I mean? So, um,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, as someone who's been on a monthly quota almost my whole entire life, like I'm now on an annual quota. And the fact that I have a deal that I thought was going to sign this week and they'll sign next, it doesn't matter if they sign next week. It's in the same quarter. I'll hit my annual. I'm still pissed. I still want it this month, and then it's like I get my commission check 2 weeks sooner, you know. So, well, okay. So, what you said that you kind of like, you're like, if I get desperate enough, I'm going to get this job. How much of it was like your back was against the wall and you just like needed something? Because like when you say you need a job, like you could have gone and worked at like as an office manager somewhere, or like there are other jobs that you could have just gone and gotten. Was it the work from home? Was it trusting Brandon? Like, what do you think made you comfortable to actually like have your first day?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think for me, it's not as simple as you could just go be an office manager or something like that. Because of my physical problems, I really needed something that I could work from home. Like that was, I feel like that was like the only way I could have made something like truly work career wise. So
I have
when
a
I
lot of
saw
friends that
that,
are parents that want that. So I think a lot of people out
sorry,
there,
what'd you say?
a
You
lot
broke
of
up.
my friends that are parents say that same thing. You know, that like working from
Yeah,
home is just it's that would be the dream so they can do a doctor's appointment.
yeah, yeah. No, exactly. And honestly, I mean, part of me wishes I could work in person because I think it would be better for my health, like getting out of the house because I'm such a hermit, like in my personal life. So it makes me like, you know, definitely wish I could work in person. But there's definitely pros. Like I feel like I could do way more work from home. Like it's funny they say people are more productive in the office, but when you really take the people that are the hardest workers, I think they would get more work done from home because there's days where I'll dial until like 6 or 7 o'clock, and if I had to like take a train home from the city, there's a 0% chance I'm doing that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be like, my train's at this time, I have to leave now. Bye. You know what I mean? So I really think like for people that actually really work hard, they could be even more productive as long as they're good at holding themselves accountable because only you could really do that at home.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people too, like they just think about like the dynamics of being in the office versus being at home, but like the commute is real. It robs you of time. Like if your
Yeah,
only alone time is like in the car or on a train, you know,
or
like
on
I
the
used
train with other people.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I used to take the fucking bus to, if you ever want to doubt that humanity is on the right path, go to Port Authority and go down 3 flights of stairs and take the NQR. And you're like, is this America? But yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, working from home, it worked out well. You had a friend that worked there, so you kind of like, you know, I don't, do you feel like when you came in, not, I know you're going to say no, you didn't get, no one gets actually special treatment or anything, but like we love referrals in sales. So if you're like, yo, I
Yeah.
got a friend, I think they'll be good, like you kind of have a little more rope almost. Like, did you experience
Yeah.
anything like that, you think?
I will say, I think for the interview process, not to throw anyone under the bus, but I think I definitely had more rope. Like, I did fine in the interview. I don't think I would have bombed the interview, like, if I wasn't a referral. But I could definitely tell throughout the interview process, like, they're moving me forward because I'm a referral. Like, and it's like, it just felt like almost a given, like, I'm not going to lie. But once I got on the job, and like those of you that know Chris, it seems like a lot of people know Chris because half the people that
Hi,
come on
Chris.
here mention him. Hi, Chris, we love you. He's like very much like, I feel like there's bosses that will give people special treatment because they like someone, but Chris was very much like, I'm giving people, like, he'll give people a layup that he gets if he sees they're working for it. Like, if
Yeah.
I was coming in and doing 10 dials a day and everyone else is doing 100, you think I'm getting special treatment from Chris? 0% chance. He'd be like, "What the hell are you doing, dude?" But he'd see, like, I noticed pretty fast that because they put you on the phones like pretty much the first week, like Friday of the first week, um, and I found out pretty much after 1 week of being on the phones, like, hey, I'm gonna get more, like, obviously better results from just doing more dials, but also my boss is gonna see I'm doing more dials, and if he gets happens to get like an at bat or some kind of inbound that didn't get assigned to someone, who's the first person he's gonna route it to? The person who he thinks deserves it, right? So I think I got special treatment in the interview process, but I earned special treatment through my work ethic and like the way I carried myself once I got on the job.
Fuck yeah. It's amazing. And I think, yeah, like there's a lot of buzzwords around that where it's like they call it like it's like nepotism, you know, it's like you get special treatment because you're someone's brother or wife or whatever. And then there's like the meritocracy, which is like based on your merit, based on how hard you work. Everyone's on an
Yeah.
even playing field. And like that's really what you look for. Like you can even ask that in an interview. Like, does this feel like a meritocracy where it's like if I'm,
Hmm.
you know, I'm a no one and I don't know anybody and I haven't been here for 7 years and I wasn't in the office with all of you guys back in the day, like, do I still get the chance to do what I got to do? Um, but like you have to work hard for that. And like another one of my favorite mantras I learned growing up is like the cream always rises to the top. So it's like I tell
Yeah.
people that I manage, like, make yourself the obvious choice. Make it an easy
Absolutely.
decision for your boss to give you that inbound. For your boss to
Yeah.
say, like, hey, I have a hot lead and like I don't want who's gonna not fuck it up. You know, it's like everyone's just
Yeah.
like scared to make a mistake. You know, it's like they say like no one ever got fired for buying an IBM. You know, back it's like you want to have the least risk. You want to make yourself the least risky option for people too.
Yeah.
So I love that you did that. I love that you were like the only thing I can control right now is my output, but also, you know, opportunity is like hard work and luck together. So if that inbound comes, again, if you're the only one online at 5:30
That too.
p.m. Eastern time,
That too.
who's getting it?
I've been blessed many times when I was at, we don't really get inbounds now, but at Foley, there was plenty of times where I was blessed with a queue call at like 6 p.m. because I was the only sucker on, but I guess who ended up being the sucker in that situation? And then
You
I
know?
would bless another AE because a lot of it, like, normally we have, or I don't know exactly how it's done now at Foley, but we had like that rotation, and you would press transfer and it would go to the first AE in that rotation. But when you're on after five, like, I'm probably not going to put it through that rotation because I've done this before. I put it through. It rang through several AEs they weren't on, and then that person came in again as a queue call 5 minutes later, and it went to the other sucker that was on, and not me. And then it was
Yeah.
a whole mess up. So I just write in the chat, hey, who can take this right now? And then bless, whatever one of those suckers are on too.
Whatever one of those hard workers that wants to, you know,
Yeah.
be available. Like it was, yeah. I mean, I had an autoimmune thing. I got really bad ulcerative colitis when I was working in Manhattan. I think it was just the stress and drugs and booze and Adderall that I wasn't prescribed and just all, it was such a mess. But like, I had to take work email and stuff off my phone. Like my doctor was like, you have to take it off your phone. And like,
Yeah.
that made me more sick. because like
Really?
like I just the like just like I turned notifications off, which was like the nice middle. And I still to this day I get Teams notifications, but I don't get email notifications because there's just
Hmm.
so many dumb emails that come through. But it's like if someone's messaging me on Teams, it's probably important, or we're celebrating a deal and like I want to react. Um,
Let's go.
but yeah, I think just like knowing that like test it out, like no, like do I want to sign off at the end of the day? Or am I still just like sitting there thinking about it? And I know that if I don't hear the ding, it's because I didn't get anything. Like, it's weird in sales because all my girlfriends are like, oh, are you like, what's your day look like? Are you busy? And it's like every single day I should be busier than I am. And even if you have 6 calls scheduled, 3 of them are going to show up and one of them's going to be bunk, you know? So it's like I look at my calendar tomorrow and I'm completely booked from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. But if a demo doesn't show up, all of a sudden I have like a 2 hour open block in the middle of the day because I have my prep, I have the demo, I have my admin time scheduled, you know? So I think, yeah, like make yourself available and just like I have a sign here that's like never not working, always on vacation. It's like kind of how I feel like it is in sales. And I think you'll
Yeah.
dominate that when you're in AE because like you won't feel like you're being made to be on all the time. It's just like this is the last thing I'll say and I promise I'll ask you a question, but there's this movie about like the financial crisis in '08, and there's a scene where like the head of the treasury in New York City is playing squash and he's like on his cell phone taking a break from his squash game, like negotiating like Fannie and Freddie and like and I just like I remember seeing that and just being like that's what I want. I want to be so good at my fucking job that I can step away from my daughter's dance recital and dominate a fucking negotiation call and then just like go back. Like
How
so
bad?
I feel like do you so in that vein, like right now you're home, you have your home office, like talk to me about like your setup. Like how much of this is like okay, I got to get like dialed in, I got to like focus, I got to have all my shit. Or like if your house, you know, I don't even know, you win the lottery tomorrow and you're like, okay, I'm going to sell my house, I have to go live in a hotel and you just have your one little monitor. Are you still dominating? Like you know what I'm trying to say? Like how much of this is like, okay, I gotta have my system and I gotta like do this versus like, okay, I think I've been doing this for a year. I've been crushing quota for a year. I think I could kind of do this without like my hands tied behind my back.
um, that's a great question. I honestly, I think the number one reason for my success comes from being hungry. And I
Mm-hmm.
think no matter what, whether I'm laying on a fucking bed in a hotel, dialing from the bed, or in my home office, as long as I'm physically able to make dials, I'm gonna still be the hungriest person in the room, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to try to get on the board. That's just like me, period.
I love that. Where does that come from?
I, to be honest, I don't know. Like I feel like I've always been hungry, but I think I got more hungry like after getting like the autoimmune disease and like really taking away my ability to like just work whatever job I chose, like taking away that choice, I guess you could say. And I just always promised myself, I was like, if I find something that I'm able to do, like I'm gonna fucking crush it no matter what.
Mm,
Like just do whatever it takes. So I feel like I always was like that's just naturally me. Like growing up playing hockey, I was always like yeah, there would be like a couple freaks I met in my life that could work harder than me, but even if I wasn't the best person on the ice, like 99% of the time I was working harder than everyone. Um, and I feel like now it's just kind of like tenfold.
yeah. It's like I think there's another saying that like a boss of mine said at one point, which was like entitled to nothing, grateful for everything.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like that's like I talked about this just with someone earlier today, whereas like my least favorite thing in a colleague or friend or someone I know or anything is like a just feeling like you're owed something, like you deserve something, you know, and I just feel like you gotta pay your rent every single day and like oh I prefer people that have like a little bit of fear, you know, that it's just like I this is my life. know,
Yeah.
so it's like I think that sometimes it can fuck you over if you have too much choice. Where it's like I could do
Yeah.
whatever I want. I can go to whatever college I want. I can major in whatever. I don't even have, my credit card bill doesn't even go to me. You know, like I think that like a lot I just yeah, that can really just set you up for failure and you have to be a really special type of person to fight against that and stand on your own 2 feet. You know, so like as much as you don't ever want your back to be against the wall, I would in no way be as successful as I am today if I hadn't come from, you know, not a lot of money and just I had to pay my own bills. And
Yeah.
I had to. I was overdrafting every fucking week. You know, and it was just like I just was paycheck to paycheck. I was making like $65,000 a year and I was still paycheck to paycheck because I was like I got to do the commute and I had to like buy
It
clothes to
adds
like
up.
go into the office in, you know, and I was just like, "Oh my God, like I just, you know, I don't have anything nice." Um so yeah, I think like that's never gonna leave you because I think it also just like the reason I asked the question is like, did it come from how your parents raised you, or like you know, obviously you're a successful athlete, but it's interesting that you said it kind of like the volume turned up where you were like, if I can find something that I can do that I can be successful in, I'm going to do that because I still feel like I could go do a different kind of job almost, you know, like I think about being a waitress or whatever, like it's so unique to you, I think, that you're like, I have to be able to work from home and I have to do something that's like digital and it's not going to be, you know, heavy lifting and whatever. Like, you kind of found the perfect job.
Yeah. Yeah. And my fate is, I mean, obviously a certain amount is in the prospect's hands too, which, you know, is never fun. But I feel like for the most part, I can control my own destiny. Like, you want to buy a house, get another connect. You want to have a baby, get another connect. You want to put more money in your Roth, get another connect. Like, it's really that simple. Like,
Have you seen Boiler Room?
I haven't, but speaking of Chris, he was literally selling me on it the other week. He was showing me clips and saying like, "Dude, you got to watch this."
Okay,
Like and
you
all
do.
this stuff.
If
I
if
do
by
have to watch it.
if by the next time we record you have not watched it, I will be very disappointed and upset because "act as if" is a quote. I mean, it's you know it's bigger than that, but it's from Boiler Room, and there's a scene in Boiler Room where Ben Affleck, who's the sales trainer, is saying like, "You want to buy a house? Pick up the phone and dial. Like, you want to buy
Yeah,
a pick up the phone and dial." Like, it's verbatim. Like, I thought you were quoting it.
that's
Um,
funny. Yeah, I actually wasn't quoting it.
it's you're when you see it now, you're gonna be like, "Holy shit." Um, but it's true, and it's like I think I talked about this too. Like, it's hard. I worked harder when I had to.
Yeah,
Period. End of story. And like my husband and I do movie quotes all the time, so I always do the Batman like you must jump like the child did without the rope like from Batman. I like to say that all the time, and it's like and now we're looking at buying a new house. You know what I mean? And I have the
pick up the
memory
phone.
now. Get on the fucking phone, Mad. I have the memory of when we moved into this house and I had a brand newborn baby. She was like 7 weeks old, and our air conditioning went out and I had the money in the bank because I'd saved it up, you know. So it was like I kind of had that like little tingle of fear that I've been missing, which is like, well,
For a
what if you
while.
move and you need new HVAC? What if you move and your basement floods? What if
Yeah,
your car shits out? What if the movers are twice as much as you thought they were going to be? You know, so it's like all of a sudden I like it's like it feels like home. Just being like a little bit scared and
a
like
little scared.
we're worried that I'm not going to have enough money. Um,
Yeah,
okay, so
I actually want to ask you before we move on.
yeah.
Like, I feel like it's almost more special to find someone whose back isn't up against the wall. So I kind of want to flip it on you because, you know, it's easy to find someone whose back is up against the wall and they have to make it work and they make it work versus like you had told us a couple weeks ago on the show you're like I don't even have to work right now. Like I'm just doing this cuz I enjoy it. Like what like besides like the new fear kind of kicking in, like do you feel like it's just your personality at this point because that's like how you were raised and cut your teeth? Like what makes you work so hard and like so competitive?
So I am going to out myself and say, like, I'm not the hardest working person at the company. Like, I'm not, but I'm very good at knowing where to put my energy. So I think I'm extremely efficient. I think always, even when I was a waitress, I can do more in less time than anyone else. Like,
Hmm.
I'm confident in that. Like, I can set, like, if it's like a dollars per hour is the stat, I'm making more dollars per hour than fucking anyone. But what I will say is it's a little bit of back against the wall, because when I had my baby and I had postpartum depression and I couldn't go back to work, my identity melted away because I've worked since I could get working papers. Like, I've had a job out of the house. I was making my own money always. I put myself through college. Like, being a good employee is a very important part of my personality. Um, and not having that was very uncomfortable. So I know now, after therapy and blah blah blah, I'm like going through all this stuff. My daughter's 3.5 years old now. Like, I need a job that I am good at and that I enjoy, or else I will go insane.
Mm.
Um, and to keep your job in sales, you have to work hard enough to be successful. And
Yeah.
whether it was luck or talent or very much both, I've always also been a quota killer. It's like I was always
Yeah.
number one, two, three on the leaderboard. I was at President's Club. Like, it just became part of who I am. Um, so like, again, like, I got in a fight with my husband last week because he's like, "You're the number one rep in the company. You've sold the biggest deal they've ever sold," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm not making enough dials." You know what I mean? So it's like whatever anyone's looking at is what I care about. Like, my question always for my managers is, what report do you look at? Because I just want to make sure I
That's
look
a
good
good
on that
question.
report. I don't want to be able to say, like,
That's a
"Well,
really
I
good
know what I'm
question.
doing." It's like, is it in Salesforce? Like, I don't care about Salesforce hygiene because I'm a nerd. I care about Salesforce hygiene because if someone, I don't want anyone to be able to talk about me behind my back, really. I think is what it is at the end of the day. I only want people to be like, "Oh, Maddie, yeah, she works really hard. Oh, Maddie, she does what she says she's going to do." I never have to worry. Like, having someone say, "I never have to worry about Maddie," is like heroin for me. Like, it's like, that's what I want. I want to be helpful. I want to be, positive. I just like, that's what really drives me. So I think it's really just a confidence thing. It's like a personality thing and a confidence thing. And like, doing stuff that you're really good at is fun, you know?
Yeah,
So
it
it's like,
is. It is.
it's just fun. And like, I think you're like, the fact that you have your whole sales career future ahead of you, like, you're going to find the parts of the sales process that you love, where it's like, maybe you now have time to prospect a little bit more thoughtfully with your headset off, and account map, and like strategize, like, who to get into, and, oh, this person that I signed up last year is at this other company now, and they're owned by this private equity firm, and like, I'm going to break in there. Or like, maybe you just love negotiating. Like, maybe you
Mm.
just love hey, like, if you decide that this is the right move for you and that we are the software you want, I'm not going to lose this partnership over a few $1,000s. Right? So like, let's have this conversation. Like, there's going to be parts of it that I think you really love. Um, and I think now that I'm getting older, I'm realizing that there are parts that I love and there are parts that I don't love. Um,
What parts do
so
you love?
I love the first discovery call, like the first 10, 15 minutes where you decide, like, do I have one on the line or not. So like, I had a discovery call today that, like, an inbound, 4 minutes into the conversation, I was like, she's not buying. So I got off the phone.
Wow.
But then I have another one that I know will eventually buy. And I've been talking to them for 6 months and they probably won't buy for another year. But like,
Wow.
I know that they'll buy eventually. So that's my
How,
favorite
how
part.
big is that one? I'm afraid to ask.
I mean, it'll be over 1 million when they buy, for sure.
That's worth the wait.
Yeah, I mean, that's my annual number in one deal. Um, but I reached out to them cold. You know what I mean? So it's like I think that's
Wow.
the other thing is like you can't like every cold call you make, you don't know if they're going to pick up. You don't know if they're going to be the right person. You don't know if they're going to fucking speak English. But you probably know within the first like 4 or 5 seconds if there's a chance that you're going to get them, and then you just don't let them off the hook.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, prospects always surprise me, but I feel like because of the opener I use, I could pretty much tell fast if it's going to be a good conversation because usually they hang up on me if it's not going to be. They either start laughing and say, "What do you got?" or hang up on me.
Well, tell the world what's your opener.
Yeah, so I use several different ones. My favorite two lately, I guess I'll say my more out of pocket one first is I'll say like obviously you want to make sure it's the right person, so I'll say Maddie, and they say yeah. I'll say if I told you this was a cold call, would it set you off like a firework on the 4th of July, or would you reward my honesty with 32 seconds to see if it's relevant?
I love that.
So like think about it, like these people are getting probably like 15 plus cold calls a day. Almost everyone sounds exactly the same. They just got out of back-to-back meetings and they're like, "Oh, what the hell is this?" And if you sound exactly the same, they're like, "Oh, like just another fucking cold call." Like that's what most people are thinking. That's the logic behind it. But then when you come in and you say something like that, they start laughing and you already made their day better and the call just started. Or maybe they don't have a good sense of humor, but they're like, "Well, what the hell is this? Like this is intriguing. Like no one calls me like this." So that's kind of like the logic behind that kind of pattern interrupt. Why I like to use it.
I love it. And it like is more fun for you.
Oh yeah, like honestly, I feel like that's why I can make so many calls a day because I used to do more of just like that standard like, "Hey, this is David with XYZ company. How are you?" Like downward inflection, all that stuff. Um, and I felt when I was doing like 150 to 200 dials a day, I felt like I was like getting burnt out, right? I mean, I was still doing it, like whatever. Like if I have to do it, I'll do it. But when I switched to like doing, I call it the Segantini approach because that's the guy that I learned it from. But like when I started doing that, you're basically like laughing with people. They either hang up or you're laughing with them in booking meetings. Like
Yeah.
even if I booked the same amount of meetings, I would still do it just because it's easier for me. But I honestly book more meetings doing it just because people buy in, get intrigued, and I have like other kind of pattern interrupts in my script that also like I guess charm people or they think it's clever and then they're like, "You know what? I'll give this guy a shot."
Yeah. Well, I heard from my first sales manager that I ever had that hired me. I was still a waitress when he hired me, and he said people buy from people they like.
Yeah.
That's it. So it's like my sales philosophy is if they like me and they think that I'm trustworthy and they know that I work at this company, then it's probably a good company for them to work with, you
Yeah.
know?
Very
Um,
true.
and I feel like that's what you're doing is you're just like being a person and you're reminding people that they're allowed to have fun at work. Because like the people that hang up and that don't schedule meetings are just they also are
They're
fucking
miserable.
they're miserable and they're going to find any reason to be miserable and happy people will find any reason to be happy. And I
Yeah.
think like that's a huge reminder. I think I just want to like underline 5 times right now is like we're allowed to have fun at work. It doesn't mean that we're not working hard. It doesn't mean that we're not taking this seriously. It doesn't mean that we're not doing a good job. It means that this is my life and I spend
Yeah.
the largest percentage of my week working for you. So I'm gonna have fun.
And in sales, people usually don't argue if you're getting the result they want, so that helps too.
Yeah. I've
Usually,
never,
obviously,
I've never,
sometimes there's like sometimes. Sorry, I was gonna say sometimes like a sales manager could have like a huge ego and be like, "Yeah, that's great, it's working, but you're gonna do it my way." But for the most part, I feel like when you're in sales, you could almost sell your manager on why you want to do it a certain way.
a good manager will never fix something that isn't broken. If they're a great sales manager, they won't try to get other people to do what you're doing because they'll know that you're special.
Yeah.
Um, but that's a huge red flag if you have someone that's unless you're like breaking a rule or something, you know what I mean? Like there's like a lot in sales where it's like don't answer an unasked question, and it's like people didn't know that they were going to get invoiced. You probably should have said that. Like that's not so much what we're talking about. We're talking about like your personality and like yeah, again, like just your style, you know? And it's like I can't teach
Yeah.
anybody to do what I do on the phone because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I just this is me. This
You
is
be
just how
yourself.
I
Yeah.
am. And it sounds like you're kind of like because you're early on in your career, how much are you learning and trying to implement from like books and other podcasts and reading and like and then how much of it is like going with your gut? Like how do you kind of like balance those two things?
That's a really good question. I would say, um, well, and also like you're learning from your manager too. I would say like when I first got to Foley, and there was one manager for over 20 BDRs, it was kind of hard for him to give everyone a ton of attention, right? Because it's really supposed to be more like maybe 10 to 12 people per manager. So there was definitely a lot of self learning. I think one of the biggest things I did when I started is, and this is something that Kelly talked about when she came on, Kelly Lichtenberger. She said, like, talk to the top performers and see what they're doing. And one of the greatest things about tech sales is you got everything in Gong or Salesforce or whatever HubSpot, whatever thing you're using, you have everyone's calls in there. So when I first came to Foley, yeah, like I knew Brandon, and Brandon was really good. So I was like listening to him, and I kind of just listened to everyone. But in my first week, this kid Brendan McCarthy, shout out BMAC, he booked 7 meetings in one day. And I was like, who the hell is this kid? Like I'm gonna listen to all his fucking calls now. So
Yeah.
so
Holy
I
shit.
I literally listened to like over 100 of his calls. Like I was obsessed. I was obsessed with what he was doing, and I literally like it's funny because I'd be having a conversation with him, and then I'd be like, oh, like I'd relate it to something that happened on one of his calls, and I'd be like, dude, you're listening to all my calls. This is crazy. And then, but basically, like what I was gonna say is, I literally listened to like Chris went into Gong, and the managers can see like how many calls each rep is listening to, right?
Mm.
And he saw this was, I would say by like week number 5 or 6, he did that, and he saw that I listened to 186 calls, and the person in second place only listened to like 15 or 16. So number one, no matter how good you are, even if you're experienced, unless you're Maddie, you should be listening to the top performers and seeing what the fuck works, because clearly they're hitting their quota. They might be the only one on the team hitting quota. They're probably doing something that you could use or should use in your talk track. So I would say that's number one. Listen to the top performers over anyone else, because even a manager might give you different advice than what the top performer is doing. But at the end of the day, do you want to hit quota or not? I feel like definitely listen to what's working. And then another thing I did a lot of was listen to sales podcasts. And one of the lines that I use um, in my script, like still to today, I learned from a podcast that Chris Bussing did, and he had I don't know if it was like the CEO or founder, like it was someone high up from Orem. Are you familiar with Orem, the
Yeah.
parallel dialogue? Like he had that guy on his podcast, and they were like doing like like a role play, and like he was like, oh, like always try to like build value into the meeting. And I was like, that makes so much sense. Like I'm like, and that's how I handle an objection. I always try to like acknowledge and build, like make the meeting sound like this is going to be something that you're going to walk away with, like with value, no matter what, whether you buy from us or not. So like de-risk it for them and provide value. Um, but yeah, so I think listen to top performers, podcasts. I'm honestly not really a book person, to be honest. I know we've had some great people on here that wrote great books, but I have trouble finishing a book. I'll just just being honest. But I think if you are a reader, like definitely leverage books. There's some great. I have two great books right here on my desk. Highly
Yes.
recommend. We've had both these people on the show. Definitely read these books. Um, but for me, most of what I learned was top performers, trial and error, and YouTube.
Love it. Yeah. And I think like a lot of what I'm hearing too is like you're probably better at this. Like I'm a very all or nothing person. So like I feel almost feel like if I'm not going to implement it, I need to like keep it out of my brain because then I feel guilty for not implementing it. Um
Yeah.
but like so one of my new mantras for myself is take the best and leave the rest. Take the
Mm,
best and leave the rest. So like I'm working on like
I
a
love
lot of
it.
stuff right now on like a personal note. We talked about my sobriety the other week. My marriage is like a whole new world because we're thinking about moving again. We have a kid. It's just like everything's it's my mom's getting older. It's like all of these things are changing. So I'm reading. I'm a voracious reader. I'm a bibliophile, as my friend Caitlin would say. Um, so I love reading, and I tend to read like the first three chapters, and then I'm like, okay, I get it. Let me go do it. Let me go do this now. And then I do it for like 2 weeks, and nothing sticks. And then I read something that fucking contradicts what I already read. And I'm like, who's right? Like, what do I? I'm trying to get better now at like taking in information, understanding like what does this mean to me, like almost using it more. And like what I like what you said too, David, is like you're learning things, but what you described that you're learning is more of a framework versus a talk track.
Hmm.
And like I think we've talked about this too at the very beginning of like the musicality of like you learn the chords and the progressions and major and minor key and whatever, and then you can jam out and have fun.
Yeah.
um and I feel like that's hard sometimes because taking a breath and self-educating and trying to like it almost feels like, again, it's like someone that says I can't look for a job while I have a job. I have to just quit my job while I look for a job because I'm too stressed out. So it's
Yeah.
like being able to do what you're doing and just listen to calls when you have time. And then maybe you hear something that sticks with you and you implement it, but you don't beat yourself up if you don't.
Hmm.
I think that's the difference. Like everything I'm hearing from you just seems like you come at it with like a lightness. Like you take yourself and your job seriously. You want to do a good job, but it doesn't feel so heavy as like everything you're doing is like a defining like who you are as a person. Like even that first question,
Yeah.
like, are you a winner? You're like, well, I win a lot. Does that make me a winner? Like you're just so like cool about everything.
See, it's funny that I come off that way, but I actually am like a complete all or nothing person.
Ah,
Like honestly, like, and also another thing I will say is I'm very much a contrarian in like a lot of the stuff I do. I feel like that's also why I vibe with the script because most people are like, oh, you should say this with a downward inflection, be serious, show you mean business, and then like some like dumbass like me just comes on and says something ridiculous and then books the meeting instead. But I also like I'd love to get into more of like my talk track and stuff. I actually am
yeah.
I'm extremely systematic, so I say pretty much the same thing
Mm,
99% of the time. Obviously, like if they say one objection, I'm not saying the objection handle that I say for something else. I'm still like answering the prospect and like what they say, but I'm very like I feel like the best way to put it is I'm a completely regular person when it comes to the way I speak and the way I talk. Like you hear like I'm sure everyone can think of like a top performer they know and they just sound like super gifted on the phone and you hear them and they sound different. I sound completely normal, but I have a system that I use every time they say this, I say this, they say this, I say that. You know your top 3 to 5 objections, you know exactly what you're going to say, and you can repeat it every time. And pretty much anyone can repeat it every time and they could still book meetings because I'm really not like that gifted salesperson that can, like sell ice to an Eskimo. I feel like I'm the complete opposite. So that's why I like sticking to like a routine, if that makes sense.
it does. And I mean, I always like to understand kind of like the why. So like when you first started saying what you just said about being systematized and not changing a lot of things, like I thought of my husband that's very data driven, right? Where it's like just don't change a lot of variables. because then you
Mhm.
don't really know what works. Maybe just change one thing at a time and then you can actually see the impact.
Yeah.
There's also the mental health aspect of it where you can sit down at your desk and know this is my playbook. Like, I'm just going to run this play all day and I know
Yeah.
that it's going to work. Like, can you think of the reason why you are so structured like that? I mean, obviously 11 months in a row hitting quota, it's working, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, like how does it make you feel to do that? Because I feel like I would almost be bored, but I feel like you're relaxed.
It can. There's obviously a certain amount of it can get monotonous, and I'm not saying like it would work mentally for everyone. Like people like you or people like Brandon Fortunato, for example. Like there's so you guys are so fucking good at just winging it, and like you guys are really talented that like you guys can probably say something like different on every call and just be yourself and book a lot of meetings or close a lot of people. But for the average person, I feel like that's really difficult. So I think the reason why I mean, I am like this in a lot of ways. Like even when it comes to cooking something, like I'll find the exact like to the second like how much I should sear it on this side and like all like stuff like that. But also when I came into the role, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos before I started, and there was this guy. His name's Connor Murray. He was a top BDR at Oracle. He hit like over 200% of his quota for like I think over a year straight, and then he was so good that after a couple years of him being an AE, they hired him as the BDR manager, and they made him train the other BDR managers because no one had ever gotten results like him, and he was very systematic, and he almost like presents it as like a way to be not stressed about a cold call, because someone like me who is like too afraid to pick up the phone, if you just say like, oh, like just talk about the product, ask them questions, I'm not going to know what to do. Like if I don't have a system, I'm not gonna, like I'm going to be too stressed out to do it. So he almost relates it to like working out. He's like, yeah, if you want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger and win a bodybuilding competition and be the absolute best there ever was, yeah, you're probably gonna have to do a lot of different variations of sets and like all these different angles and stuff like that. But you can get 80% of the results from just doing like 6 exercises. So for most people, that's really what like can get you most of the results. A lot of people will be like, oh, what if they say like, and they worry about like the most like niche like objection that they have to handle. But really, if you just know your top three objections and you can literally have it written down on a screen. They can't see that you're reading off a screen. You can have it written down, and if they say this, I say that, and it takes like it never takes all the stress out of it, right? It's still, there's still going to be some stress, but for me, it just made it so much easier. Like, oh, I could just say this, be direct, ask for the meeting, don't waste their time. If they say this, I say that. If they say this, I say that, and it just makes it like 1 + 1 = 2, to me
Yeah.
at least.
And I think again what I heard there is like you're saying that you're all or nothing, obviously, but like I heard a lot of like 80/20 in there. Where it's like I get 80% of the results, and like I think like yes, you like I think a lot of people an anxious mind plans for the outlier.
Yeah.
Where you're like, well, what about this? And you're like that like has that ever happened? You're like, oh, I don't know. Like that's why I'm thinking about it. What if it does? And it's like probably won't. My manager Dave, who I love to death, reminded me of the 4 box drill. Have you ever heard of the 4 box drill?
No.
So you make a matrix, so it's just a box, and you do four, and there's 4 boxes, and you just talk through what are the most likely outcomes. So say that you're
Mm.
going into a meeting and or like you're about to have a cold call, or say I have like a check-in. So I pitched somebody, they said, "Okay, I'm going to bring this back to my boss. I'll join the meeting on Thursday. Maybe my boss will come, maybe they won't. What do we prepare for?" You can't prepare for everything, and you shouldn't go in completely unprepared. So it's like the most likely outcome, they no show. What do I do then? The second most likely outcome is they show up and say, "Oh, my meeting with my boss got canceled." What do I do then? The third, like, most likely outcome is they show up and they say we're the project's on hold. And the fourth likely option is, okay, my boss wants to see this, but they're out for the next 2 weeks. We have to like push. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Hmm.
and then the more experience you have, the more you can go back. So on your first 10 cold calls you've ever made, you hadn't gotten those objections yet. You didn't know
Hmm.
how common they were. So you're kind of like revisiting that if this, then that,
Yeah,
back and forth as you continue to go. Um, but I think that's just like a really healthy reminder for everyone is like the more experience you have, the more you can go both ways. You can say, "Well, I've seen crazy shit. You never know what's going to." And it's like, "Okay, yeah, but really if you take a breath, it's the same 4 or 5 scenarios that you're in
yeah,
all the time and you can prepare for those."
yeah. And I feel like, yeah, it literally preparing for those four boxes will get you 80% of the results instead of worrying about some random niche objection or scenario. Like even now, like I'm not someone I think like and not to like talk myself up, but what I like most
That's
about
what
my
this
story,
podcast is for right now. You are fucking killing it. Talk yourself up.
like what I like most about my story is you're not gonna like listen to my cold calls and say, hey, like this guy handled 15 objections and then finally got someone who didn't even want a meeting into a meeting for like the same day. And that's like shout out to BMAC for being able to do that. Like half of his booked meetings were like he handles like 15 objections. I wish I was that. I'm not that good on the phone, but I could still perform at a really high level because just being able to handle 15 objections isn't the only thing that makes someone a top BDR. There's a lot of other factors.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like you know what you're optimizing for, which is booking the meetings and getting them to show up, and like that's what I think is going to make you an exceptional AE. And like I think sales manager maybe one day if you want to, like depending on like I'm back as an IC. I don't want to be anyone's boss ever again. I just know that about myself. Um, but I think that like knowing what the next step is helps you optimize for it. So it's like you're not here to just like book 10 meetings that aren't going to show up.
Right, because then
You're
it's
here to
wasting
book,
my time too.
yeah, you want 5 meetings that are going to show. Um, so let's, in the time we have left here, let's talk about what's next because like you're about to hit your 11, you're already at quota this month. So, you're going to continue to smash it. You'll, I'm sure, hit next month too. Like, have you thought about how long you want to be a BDR? I know you want to be an AE. Have you talked to your boss about that? Like, what's the goal, the dream, the plan?
Yeah, so I think it would be hard to say the dream because I don't even know yet, but I definitely want to be an AE. As we all know, that's one of the reasons why I'm not at our last company because there wasn't a path anymore. I actually did, I speak to Chris, my boss, quite often of my intentions. And I actually had a meeting with the founder last week about my timeline. And yeah, I threw time on his calendar. That's the beauty of sales. You could just throw time on people's calendars and try to be ambitious if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
You don't have to be scared. People like ambition in sales. Um, and just like kind of because like it's one thing hearing it from my direct manager, but hearing it from the founder and CEO, who I guess pretty much ultimately makes the decision, is a lot more powerful. And he told me that sometime in Q4 I will be getting promoted to AE. Obviously, like barring something crazy happening, hopefully I could just keep being consistent. But yeah, so the plan is become an AE, do the best I can for as long as I can, and see what I enjoy the most and what I'm best at, and then go from there. I might want to be an AE forever. I might want to be a sales manager. I might want to be a BDR manager. I might want to go back to being a BDR because maybe I liked this bullshit cold calling stuff better. But I won't know until I actually do it. Just like how I didn't know I could have been a good BDR at all because I didn't even want to pick up the phone until I actually did it. And now I love picking up the phone. If someone messages me, even like a friend outside of work, I'd rather just call them at this point because that's my personality change with that. So I feel like you just never know until you're in seat and you do it, and that's my plan for now.
I mean, you're going to continue to be super successful. And like, I think also we all reserve the right to change our mind.
Yeah.
So, I think that was really hard for me because I got into leadership and it felt like I was demoting myself, saying I wanted to go back to being an individual contributor. I think like
Hmm.
depending on who's listening to this, like in your 20s, you're kind of on autopilot and you're just like go, go, go. And then in your 30s, you start to feel like, like I would see people that were like just customer success managers and like when I was in my 20s and they were in their 30s and had kids and I was just like, ew. Like you didn't want to be a director? Like fucking gross. So it's like, yeah, you just kind of got to take what it comes, and I think what you also have already been through without the choice was like finding something that can accommodate you for like your health, and then it's like you're gonna get married, you're gonna have kids, like you're gonna have to accommodate them. So like, being an IC is the best thing ever for me as a parent
Yeah.
because I control my own schedule. And I'm the one that's like blocking off the calendar and being like Ava blood work. And
Yeah.
it's like if I get skipped in the inbound rotation, I get skipped in the inbound rotation. So
See, that's what would
uh,
stress me out the most. Getting
yeah,
skipped in the
ugh,
inbound.
I know, exposure therapy. That's why I had to say it. Um, But I mean, you're absolutely crushing it, and like, there's no doubt in my mind that you will continue to crush it. And I think you'll really enjoy being an AE. And I think that a piece of practical advice, like you said, is like make it known what you want, but also be patient.
Yeah. I think I have trouble with the patient part. Like I've even been told, I won't name any names of people, but people higher up have definitely told me like, not at my current company, but they were like, I love how ambitious you are. You just need to be like a little bit more patient for like a longer timeline. Like was like the gist of it, and
Hmm.
I think it was like good advice for sure. Um, but yeah, I definitely need to work on my patience. I gotta be honest. I'm like the most patient person ever.
Yeah. Well, I'm the most patient, impatient person, so I get it. Um, yeah, I think that it's tough. It's tough because like I'm even working on that like in my recovery right now where it's like what does it really mean to like trust God and like know the timing, and then I was like very much struggling with like my own agency and being like how do I even asked like my addiction counselor like how do you balance going for something, applying for that job, but then trusting that it wasn't meant to be if you don't get it.
Hmm.
Like that's what's really, really hard for me is I feel like I only want to go for it if I know I'm going to get it. And if I don't get it, I instantly convince myself that I didn't want it anyway,
Mm.
you know? Um, so I think like you're in a really good spot right now where like you have the light at the end of the tunnel and it's almost like they knocked it back to you where it's like this is yours to lose. And like that's stressful as hell, but it's also like you have a track record of being like when I'm given the opportunity, I execute.
Yeah. And the best part about being a BDR is you can control how many at bats you get. With an AE, it's like a little bit harder because you only get a certain amount of meetings and you could only self source like so many a day. But I have a lot of control over how many connects I get and how many at bats I get. And I could literally spend like, if you don't have any meetings on the schedule and you're not booking enough meetings, there's no reason why you shouldn't just dial like 90% of the day and get more at bats if you want to be the best. You know,
I
if you don't
know,
want to.
David. I know.
I'm not talking about you. I'm
He's
talking about
talking right
BDRs.
directly
No,
to
stop.
me. I'm so fucking self-conscious.
I
Um,
really wasn't directing that at you.
yes, you were. I'm gonna play just that, skip just that for my husband. He's like, see, everyone's coming for me. Um, I'm so privileged and proud of you and just so excited to just have like a front row seat with my popcorn to your sales career because I just you're such a like anomaly, where it's like you and I think I work with some of those people and they're the best people where it's like you don't have to be an asshole to be a killer. You know what I mean? Like you can be a fucking quota killer. You can crush it. You can be at the top of the leaderboard. You can be winning trips. Like you are gonna take your wife on fucking President's Club trips.
I
You're
hope
gonna be
so.
getting bottles of champagne sent to you in the mail. Like there's a very bright future in sales for you. Um, but like it's just you're also trustworthy. You do what you say you're going to do. You're a real nice, normal person. Like, there's not a lot of yous out there. So, I just hope you know that even though you don't think you're special, you're very special.
Aw,
And I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people in 7, 8 different countries. Like, through, you know what I mean? And it's like there are not a lot of people like you out there. Um, and I'm excited to continue to see where you're gonna go. I think you're gonna make a lot of fucking money.
I hope so.
Um, and
Fingers
I think you're
crossed.
gonna
New
have a
York's
lot of
expensive.
fun doing it. I think the last thing I'll say is just like, good things happen to good people, and like at the end of the day, like yes, you can control a lot of what you do. But I always would tell people when I managed, like your job is not to close every deal. Your job is to very clearly articulate the state of reality. So like if we lost, I want to know why. And I want to
Hmm.
know at the end of the day, is there anything that you would have done differently? It's like this is a good reminder for myself where it's like at the end of the day, what would I have done differently? And then that's what I can maybe self educate on or beat myself up about in the shower and like do differently tomorrow. But if you can really say, like, I wouldn't do anything differently today, and I think that you've gotten to that place in your current role where you're like, if I make this many dials and I say this and I do this and then at the end of the day, I can close my laptop and go hang out with Demi and be like, I feel good about what I'm doing. If you can continue that as an AE, you will be in a very good position.
I hope so. Maddie, I actually want to ask you one last question before
Yeah,
we
anything.
end, but um, I'm sure you've seen a lot of great BDRs like in your time in sales, and not all of them become successful AEs like even when they make the jump. What for my own personal gain, and I'm sure like a lot of people watching who are either getting promoted, looking to get promoted, and doing well as a BDR. What do you see that's different in the BDRs that do also end up succeeding as an AE versus the ones who kind of just fizzle out?
I think that I'll do like my kind of like philosophical answer and then my practical answer as I tend to do. So I think philosophically, if you're a BDR, that you should always kind of want your boss's job. So it's like if you're a BDR and you're like, I want to be an AE, I want to know what it takes to be an AE. I'm going to I want to show up to the discovery call. Like you have that natural curiosity. I think that that bodes very, very well for you. So I think the people that I've seen that got promoted that didn't aspire to get promoted for a reason. They got promoted because they're doing a really good job. Um, and then it's like, oh well, if you hit quota for 6 months, you get promoted, and then they get
Mm.
promoted and they're just kind of like on the escalator, versus the people that are like, are you sure you can't promote me in 4 months? If I hit 250%, you promote me in 5 months. Like like you if you have that hunger and that desire to continue to grow and challenge yourself. Someone that's like, oh, I didn't go for like I could have gotten promoted last cycle, but I didn't go for it. It's like then you're never going to be successful as an AE.
Yeah.
Um, I also think that the people that I've seen that are very successful are those that can deal with like a hiccup. So it's like I
Mm.
crushed it as a BDR. This is you speaking. I hit quota, for a full year. I got promoted, and then my first month of ramp, I sold zero. And my second month, I was supposed to close 10K, and I only closed five. If you can hold on and do not have an apocalyptic meltdown, mental, breakdown, whatever the mentee bees kids say, if you can fucking hold it together and be like, this is normal. I'm here for a reason. If my boss is telling me that I'm doing what I need to be doing, like the deals will come, I'm building pipeline. Like coming into a sales job with no pipeline is the most uncomfortable, hardest, shittiest time ever.
Yeah.
because you don't have the boomerangs. You don't have the people that are like, hey, we talked 2 years ago and we didn't move forward and now we're ready to move forward. And then that makes your quarter. It's like, you don't have that. I had to remind myself of that at the beginning of my job. So I would say that if you're going from BDR to AE, just because you don't crush it immediately does not mean that you made a mistake, does not mean that you're actually not cut out for this. It's natural and normal, and just do not panic. That would be my biggest piece of advice.
I love that. And I feel like I do fall into both those boxes. Like the person that was like, when, like, can I get promoted next month or next week or tomorrow or this quarter? That was always, and you could, there's still people there that I had those conversations with that I think they loved me and hated me because they're like, oh, this guy's talking to me again. He's going to ask when he's getting promoted or getting a raise. Um, so I feel like I definitely fit into that box. And I like to think I'd fit into like the hiccup, like the not getting upset with one hiccup or two hiccups type box because I feel like I'm already like setting. If anything, like my expectations are hopefully lower than they. Like I could see myself not closing anything for like a couple months just because the deal sizes are bigger. Um, so like I'm just kind of going in with the expectations of not closing anything for several months, and then if I happen to close something, it's just the icing on the cake or the cherry on top. Um,
Yeah.
and just kind of maybe take the mindset that you had for your first sales job when you were like you can fire me but I'm not going to quit. And I think like that's at least that's what I'm planning on going in. Like I hope that's what I actually stick to, and I think I will, but I don't want to say that if it like if something changes. But I think going in with those realistic expectations will definitely work in my favor for that.
I agree. And I think just like trust your managers. Like I think a lot of people, myself included, I trust the mean voice in my head more than I trust my fucking manager. And it's like if they're telling you you're doing a good job, don't overthink it. I would tell you if you needed to do something different. They're not lying to you. Like they want you to be successful too. Like I think I just came up
Yeah.
in sales thinking that like I was going to somehow secretly get fired for no reason. And I was doing great. I just was like, I was so nervous all the time. So I think it's like if they tell you, "Hey, we have a ramp for a reason. You're doing what you need to be doing. You're in pipeline building mode. Like, don't worry about it." And then the other thing I'll say is I've seen some people be very unsuccessful because they got really lucky right at the beginning. So like I've seen
Yeah.
people get promoted and they get handed this big deal that their manager basically closes for them, and then they see themselves at the top of the leaderboard and they think they're hot shit, and it's like you didn't actually close. It was in your name in Salesforce. That's literally all you did. So
Yeah.
like don't be that girl that I'm thinking of. Because then when you actually have to start working, you're kind of pissed because you're like,
Yeah.
why is it's not supposed to be
Why
this
is it this
hard.
hard? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, so
I
like,
love it.
sometimes good luck can kind of screw you over too. But I think it goes back to what we were saying. If you can at the end of the day say I wouldn't have done anything differently today, then tell the mean voice in your head to shut the fuck up.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Maddie.
Thank
You
you
always
so
give great
much.
advice.
Congratulations. Top performer, smashing quota, 11 months. Do you know your average quota attainment? Like over those 11 months?
I would say it's a little hard to calculate just because my last 2 months at Foley they raised my quota by 50%, which then they lowered it. I've heard they lowered it by
Well, that
fifty
doesn't
percent since
matter.
I've been
The
there.
denominator
But
matters. So,
yeah, so there were a couple of months where I only hit like a little bit over 100, but I would say my like on average I was like right about 150%. That was like pretty much the average. So and a couple I had like last month I hit 200%, but it was my second month ramp, and then there was a month at Foley where I hit like 180% too. So
I mean, there
just
you
to
go.
boost the average up a little bit.
That's all you do is you just add up the denominator and it's just a basic little math from elementary school, and that's and like
Yeah,
I'm not a numbers person. I don't like math. I know that I haven't factored in actually fully because it's a annual quota and I should maybe do the over the quarters or something, but I'm 138% for my career.
that's crazy. That's like incredible, honestly. Like
Yeah.
when you think of
So
15 years, like, and you still say, I feel like I got lucky. It's been 15 freaking
in
years.
15
Like,
fucking
come
years,
on.
six companies. I've sold probably $10 million of software, like over
Come
more than
on.
actually way more than that. Probably sold 10 million at one company, but yeah, we'll see. We're just gonna, we're so young. I do this voice with one of my friends from one of my old companies. We're so young, Kath. We're so young. We won the Founders Club trip, and she and I were there at a beach in
Oh.
Cabo, just like winning. Remember when we were winning trips? We were so young, getting flown around the world. So now I have to do this to her. She's gonna die that I'm doing it. But I see this in your future. You're gonna have your wife with a baby bump on the beach in Hawaii because you
I
won a
hope
trip.
so.
I see it. I see it
I
in my
hope
mind's
so.
eye.
I need that.
Yes, it is coming. It is coming. It is coming. So, yeah, so proud of you. So excited. I am gonna go spend some of the money that I make and get my NAD plus my B12 shots because I'm a hippie. So I'm
What
gonna
is
go do that.
NAD?
It's like a cellular regeneration, things like for your mitochondria, so it helps your
Hmm.
cells regenerate faster. I swear to God, it has changed the game for my sleep.
Really?
hmm I used to wake up every hour on the hour all night. And then especially since I got sober, just my sleep has been so terrible. Like I literally
That's
am
tough.
I think I'm gonna buy an Aura ring finally because I'm like I need to get my sleep under control. But I wake up like maybe once a night now.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah,
I gotta give that a
yeah.
try.
It's worth every penny. So
But
yeah,
all
and I
right,
thought today
guys.
was Thursday all day today, but it's not. So we love that in sales. We love having an extra day to finish the month. So
We
finish the
definitely
month
love that.
strong. Increase that quota average and let me know where
Hell
you
yeah.
end at the end of the
Hell
day
yeah.
on Friday. I love when the end of the month's on a Friday. It's a good
I
one.
know, me too.
It's a really good one. All right. Love you. Talk
Bye,
to you
guys.
later.
Like and
Bye.
subscribe.
Bye, guys. Like and subscribe.